It was a quiet, sunlit morning when the engines thundered into the small town of Maple Ridge, shattering the peace that usually hung over the lonely roadside diner. The rumble grew louder until the windows trembled and every head turned as a group of bikers pulled into the gravel lot, their black leather jackets reflecting the sharp light. Among them was their leader, Rex Malone, a man whose name carried weight far beyond the rumbling of his Harley. His presence commanded silence. He was the kind of man who looked carved from stone with eyes that spoke of 1,000 miles of roads and regrets. People whispered stories about him. Some feared him, others respected him, but no one truly knew the men behind the scars and tattoos. If you believe that kindness can come from the most unexpected hearts, that everyone deserves a second chance, then please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, where real stories of compassion come alive. Inside the diner, the clinking of coffee cups faded as the bikers took their seats. The waitress, her name tag read Mara, moved quietly between tables, her smile polite but weary. She was young, maybe 30, with tired eyes that held the weight of too many sleepless nights. When she leaned forward to pour coffee, Rex noticed something beneath her attempt at cheer, a faint bruise near her jawline, half covered by foundation, the kind that no makeup could fully hide. It wasn't the first time he'd seen something like that. It stirred memories of his past, the kind of past that still haunted him when the nights grew too long. Mara worked in silence, keeping her eyes down. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed a plate before him. Rex's gaze lingered, not with anger, but with concern. He didn't say a word, but inside something shifted, a quiet fury mixed with an ache he hadn't felt in years. He saw himself in her fear. Years ago, he'd lost someone he loved to the same kind of pain, the kind no one spoke about, the kind hidden behind closed doors. That memory had been buried under layers of roughness. But now, standing before this bruised waitress, it clawed its way back to the surface. Outside, the sky turned gray, and the wind began to pick up dust from the lot. The other bikers laughed among themselves, but Rex wasn't listening. He watched as Mara slipped into the back kitchen, her shoulders slumped. He followed her with his eyes, noticing how she flinched when the manager barked an order from across the counter. The man was thicket with a mean look and eyes that burned with quiet cruelty. And in that moment, everything became clear to Rex. Hours later, when the lunch crowd thinned, Rex lingered alone at the counter, pretending to sip the last of his coffee. He watched the manager walk past Mara, bumping her shoulder hard enough to make her spill. She whispered an apology, but the man's response was sharp, venomous. Rex's jaw tightened. There was no mistaking it now. This wasn't just stress. It was fear, the kind that traps people in silence. That night, Rex couldn't shake the image of her bruises. He sat in his garage, the neon light flickering across rows of bikes, lost in thought. His brothers from the club came by, joking and loud, but he barely heard them. He kept thinking about how life had once given him a chance to help someone and how he'd failed. He promised himself never again. The next morning, he made up his mind. When the sun rose, Mara came into work early, her hair tied back neatly, trying once more to hide the mark on her cheek. She was surprised to see the biker